Welcome to the Uncanny Valley podcast. You've brought us a really fascinating source today. It's the second edition rulebook for the Fear Itself role-playing game. And our mission really is to unpack its most potent insights for you, the listener. We're pulling back the curtain on how this system, well, how it masterfully crafts contemporary horror.
Yeah.
Exploring that uncanny collision, of the ordinary and the terrifyingly strange.
Indeed. And this isn't like just a game manual, right? It's a meticulously constructed framework for understanding fear itself.
Yeah.
It really digs deep into horror tropes, the psychology of people under serious duress,
Right.
and the very nature of those unsettling phenomena that kind of nudge us right into that uncanny valley, that place of profound discomfort.
That's absolutely right. Imagine taking people just like you, living ordinary lives, and then, bam, dropping them into a world where sanity is a fragile commodity.
Totally, Fred.
And these alien menaces are lurking just beyond this thin veil of reality. So today we're going to explore precisely how fear itself manages to craft such an immersive and, frankly, chilling experience, and what its design choices reveal about the kinds of fears that really get under our skin and, twist our perception of what's familiar.
And our journey today will kind of unravel the mechanics that compel characters, and by extension you, the listener, to confront these unspeakable horrors rather than just, running away.
Which is the logical thing to do.
It absolutely is. We'll look at how it builds suspense through relentless psychological pressure and what uniquely defines its unsettling creatures, many of which really embody that unnerving, uncanny valley sensation.
Definitely.
Think of this whole thing as a blueprint for dread. It offers some pretty profound insights into why certain types of horror resonate so deeply, especially those ones that twist the comfortable and familiar into something utterly disturbing and, alien.
Okay, so let's begin our exploration. Let's dive into the core premise of fear itself. This game, it plunges ordinary individuals into a deeply disturbing contemporary world. It's full of madness, violence, and the goal is explicitly to replicate those shudders and shocks we get from best horror films and books. What's immediately striking, I think, is its deliberate focus on regular folk, much like themselves. Not highly trained operatives, not superheroes, just everyday people.
Right.
And that choice, right from the start, it sets this profound tone of vulnerability, doesn't it?
It's a foundational design choice, truly.
Yeah.
It's really fundamental. Unlike so many other role-playing games where you're playing powerful heroes or super competent professionals.
It's the usual suspects.
Exactly. Even other games using the same GUMSHOE rule system, like the Esoterrorists, that one features these ultra-competent operatives battling global conspiracies. Fear itself makes a stark pivot.
A huge pivot.
It pits genuinely everyday individuals against these terrifying threats, and that just amplifies the sense of vulnerability, the personal terror exponentially. It makes the horror feel far more immediate, personal, and profoundly relatable, yeah. You aren't playing someone who's prepared for cosmic horrors. You are, by design, playing you, or someone very much like you, caught in this impossible, rapidly unraveling situation.
Wow.
This decision is fundamental to fear itself's brand of horror. It forces players to confront that terrifying thought, what if this happened to me?
Exactly.
So the fear becomes less about defeating a monster and more about desperately trying to survive when your mundane, everyday reality just falls apart around you. It really embodies that uncanny valley concept in a psychological sense. The familiar suddenly becomes profoundly threatening and alien.
And central to this world is this concept that, it immediately sends shivers down my spine. Creatures of unremitting horror trying to break through the membrane.
Oh, yeah.
And that's described as all that separates our world from their domain, the outer dark. That phrase, outer dark, just screams unsettling, doesn't it?
It absolutely does.
It conjures these images of a vast, malevolent void, maybe a dimension of pure, unadulterated wrongness from which these entities emerge.
And it's more than just a chilling name. It's a fundamental element of the game's cosmology, specifically devised by Dave Alsop, which gives it this unique and unsettling origin. And this raises a really important, almost existential question. What happens when that thin membrane separating our reality from theirs begins to fray? Or worse, rupture?
Yeah, what does happen?
Well, the game postulates that these entities exist in a separate, malevolent realm. The horror isn't just, a monster jumping out from behind a door.
Right, not just jump scares.
No. It arises from their insidious, persistent attempts to breach our reality. And that creates this pervasive existential dread that extends far beyond simple jump scares.
So it's deeper.
Much deeper. It's not just a monster in the closet, it's the very fabric of reality itself beginning to unravel. And these creatures are like the cancerous manifestations of that decay.
Wow.
This cosmological backdrop really deepens the horror. It transforms it from a mere monster hunt into a fight for the very nature of existence and sanity.
Okay, so the game offers different ways to experience this terrifying world. It supports both one-shot scenarios, where survival is often unlikely, the narrative is concise, and then ongoing or even open-ended campaigns, where characters can either grow more adept at combating these threats, which sounds positive,
Seems okay.
or spiral tragically into insanity and death. That's a pretty bleak outlook, even for horror.
It is bleak.
It really emphasizes the crushing psychological weight these threats impose on the human psyche.
This distinction between the game modes is absolutely critical to the fear itself experience and its nuanced approach to horror. One-shots are meticulously designed to be like a classic horror film.
Right, like a movie arc.
Definitive beginning, rising tide of terror, often a grim, conclusive end for the protagonists. The focus there is on a singular, intense burst of terror, a concentrated dose of dread.
Right. Get in, get scared, get out, mate.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Campaigns, though, offer a far more drawn-out, agonizing psychological and physical decline. While characters might gain some power or knowledge, frequently at a steep cost, their sanity, their humanity, the rules specifically add more support for different ways to play, suggesting a flexibility in how deep and how persistently you want to plunge into this dread.
So you can tailor the misery.
Sort of, yeah. It's not just about one terrifying encounter. It's about a journey into the abyss. Watching your character slowly unravel, balancing their growing competence against their fading grasp on reality.
Sounds intense.
It becomes this slow burn horror where the accumulation of trauma is just as terrifying as any single monster encounter.
All right, let's turn our attention now to the engine driving this dread, the GUMSHOE sister itself, and how it empowers players to uncover these horrors.
Okay.
The game uses what it calls investigative abilities to find clues. Divides them into broad categories like academic, interpersonal, technical. Pretty standard stuff so far.
Seems normal.
But here's where it gets really fascinating and honestly profoundly different from many other RPGs. You never need to roll dice for these abilities.
Right.
If you've got the right ability for the current situation, you'll get a clue. No dice rolls for finding clues. That's a huge departure.
It really is.
It means the story won't just grind to a halt because someone rolled badly.
That design choice is genuinely revolutionary for mystery and horror games. It underscores a core philosophy of fear itself. Investigation isn't about failing to find crucial information, but rather about asking the right questions and taking the right actions. This streamlines the mystery significantly, ensuring the narrative always moves forward.
Always progressing.
Always. You as the player will always find the core clues essential to advancing the story. The source puts it plainly. You'll never fail to find information because you rolled badly. You just need to ask the right questions and role-play the right actions.
Okay.
This fundamentally shifts the emphasis from luck to player ingenuity, observation, deductive reasoning.
So it's on you, the player.
It's on you. The horror comes from what you find and how you interpret it, rather than frustrating roadblocks in the investigation itself.
So for you, the player, this means the focus isn't on the arbitrary whims of dice,
Yep.
but on your character's deductive reasoning and your own role-playing choices. You spend points from your investigative ability pool not to find the basic clues. Those are guaranteed, you said.
Guaranteed.
But for advantages like extra information, bonus general ability points, or story twists, they give some really compelling examples, like an occult studies spend could let you recall a demon's true name for banishing it. Or a history spend might provide deep, crucial context on some ancient Aztec sacrificial dagger. It's not just about locating a thing. It's about understanding its profound, terrifying meaning and leveraging that understanding.
That's a critical distinction and a powerful mechanic for you, the listener, to grasp. It means the critical information is always there for the characters to discover. It directly rewards careful thought and appropriate use of their skills.
Rewarding smart play.
Exactly. The spends are where player agency truly shines. They allow for proactive choices, letting characters gain significant tactical advantages, deeper insights into the horror, or even influence the narrative in surprising ways, rather than just passively receiving info.
Can you give an example?
Sure, think of it like this. The core clue, say finding a strange symbol on a wall, is automatic if you have occult studies.
Got it.
But if you then choose to spend a point from your occult studies pool, you might immediately recall a forgotten ritual associated with that symbol. Suddenly you have a crucial advantage in banishing whatever it summons.
Oh, okay. Big difference.
Or a history spent on that Aztec dagger might reveal not just its origin, but also a specific historical figure who once wielded it. Maybe that lets you bypass a dangerous guard who reveres that figure.
Clever.
It's about leveraging knowledge as a strategic resource, turning information into agency in a world designed to strip it away. It even offers benefits like avoiding danger or skipping a scene, making these knowledge-based choices dynamically impactful.
Okay, so we've seen how fear itself ensures you'll always find the critical clues, the ones needed to advance the mystery. But once you have that info, what about surviving the horrifying consequences?
Right, the scary part.
That's where the general abilities come in. They're how you get things done in the world. And this is where the dice rolls finally come in.
Here they are.
You typically need a 4 or higher on a 6-sided die, and you can spend points from your general ability pool to boost your chances. They highlight health and stability as particularly special general abilities. This is where the tension really ramps up, I imagine. Because unlike investigations, success isn't guaranteed when you're physically or mentally challenged.
Precisely. These abilities are where the risk and tension truly manifest. They reflect the uncertain and often brutal nature of physical and mental challenges in a horror scenario.
Makes sense.
Unlike the guaranteed success of investigative abilities, here, success is very much on the line. Health and stability are indeed unique. They act as crucial meters for your character's physical and psychological integrity.
Like hit points and sanity points, basically.
Kind of, but the rules explicitly state, if damage or stress takes your health or stability below 0, you're in trouble. This makes managing these pools a constant source of dread. Every wound, every psychological shock pushes your character closer to an irreversible breakdown.
Okay, so 0 is bad news.
Very bad news.
The game lists a comprehensive range of these general abilities.
Yeah.
From the more physical ones like athletics, driving, scuffling, shooting,
Team action stuff.
to essential support skills like medic for healing physical wounds and shrink for psychological recovery. And here's a telling detail. They even have an ability called fleeing,
Yes.
which you can acquire at a discount if your character isn't, a combat expert. That's a pretty clear signal about the intended playstyle, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely.
Suggesting evasion and survival are maybe more important than direct confrontation.
It is, absolutely. This design choice actively encourages characters to avoid head-on confrontations whenever possible. It rewards a more cautious, survival-oriented approach, which is entirely thematic for horror.
Right.
The ability list itself dictates the style of play. It reinforces that ordinary people premise by giving them tools to escape or survive rather than dominate. The discount on fleeing isn't just a mechanical quirk, it's a deliberate nudge towards that very vulnerable, desperate attempt to escape. Reminding players that they are, by design, not action heroes. It's about desperately running from what you found.
Now, when confrontation becomes unavoidable, because sometimes it does,
It happens.
the game outlines simple tests for straightforward actions without resistance,
Like
jumping a gorge or binding a wound. Then there are contests for direct conflicts between two characters, and fighting, which is more detailed contests specifically for combat. What's particularly striking is how brutal the consequences of failure can be, leading to conditions like becoming hurt, that's 0 to -5 health, or seriously wounded, -6 to -11 health, both of which inflict significant penalties,
big penalty.
affecting your ability to use even investigative skills or increasing all difficulty numbers for further actions.
The rules for injury and fear itself are undeniably designed to be brutal and to have a lasting impact, reinforcing the lethality inherent to the horror genre.
No pulling punches here.
None. The game explicitly states that losing points is meant to hurt. This means that even if you manage to survive a confrontation, it comes with steep costs, contributing significantly to that feeling of constant jeopardy and psychological strain.
Yeah.
A character reduced to, say, -8 health isn't just knocked out. They are hospitalized for 8 days, effectively taking them out of the ongoing action for a significant period.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Real consequences.
This isn't about hit points as just a resource to manage. It's about profound consequences that alter the trajectory of your character's existence. It's about how every encounter, every fight, leaves an indelible mark, physically and psychologically.
And the combat rules get into very specific, granular details, too. There are hit thresholds for how hard you are to hit,
Yep.
armor to reduce incoming damage, damage modifiers for different weapons, even for supernatural creatures. But here's a detail that really jumped out at me. A stark warning.
Uh-oh.
If an opponent has a gun ready and you charge them from more than 5 feet away,
Yeah.
you are automatically hit.
Ouch.
And the damage is tripled. Yikes. That's an incredibly strong disincentive for any heroic headstrong actions.
That rule is a perfect example of fear itself's commitment to realistic consequences within its horror context.
Feels very real, yeah.
It actively and severely discourages any heroic charges into gunfire or direct, foolhardy confrontations. It grounds these ordinary characters in a sense of real-world vulnerability, where even seemingly minor tactical mistakes can be fatal. The focus is squarely on survival, strategic thinking, and more often than not, evasion, rather than any power fantasy. It's a mechanic that relentlessly enforces the idea that you are not a hero in this world.
Got it loud and clear.
And acting like one will lead to a very swift, very painful end. This heightens the tension because every confrontation must be carefully considered. Direct combat is almost always a last, desperate resort.
Okay, let's shift our focus now to the characters themselves. As we mentioned, characters in Fear itself begin as ordinary people, unaware of the presence of supernatural forces.
Completely unaware.
They're truly, like you, the player, drawn from normal walks of life. This approach profoundly grounds the horror, doesn't it? It makes the terrifying events feel far more personal.
Absolutely.
Because if it could happen to them, it feels dangerously plausible it could happen to us.
Absolutely. The game's emphasis on relatable, everyday characters is crucial. It makes their gradual descent into horror all the more impactful. The concept step in character creation.
Right, the adjective and noun.
Yeah, where you define your character with a simple adjective and a noun, like surly secretary or manic party animal. It's designed to encourage quick, compelling character ideas rooted deeply in the mundane.
The everyday.
This stark contrast between their ordinary lives and the extraordinary horrors they face makes the supernatural elements even more jarring and terrifying. The source is unequivocally clear on this point. Whatever the premise, your character is not allowed to be prepared for what's about to happen.
Not prepared at all.
This isn't a story about seasoned monster hunters. It's about ordinary people whose lives are suddenly invaded by the incomprehensible.
And building on that idea of relatability, the game even suggests creating characters together as a group.
Collaborative.
So you can riff on each other's concepts and start sketching your backstories and connections. This approach immediately fosters group cohesion and dynamic, right?
It does.
It's about building a shared world of normalcy, a foundation of familiar relationships, before that very world gets violently shattered by the intrusions of the outer dark.
This collective character creation process is ingenious. It directly feeds into what the game calls the spiral of misery mechanic.
Spiral of misery sounds ominous.
It is. By creating characters together, they instantly become connected by a chain of friendships and obligations, lashing them together so they'll all be dragged into the darkness as a group.
Ah, okay, so they're tied together.
This immediately gives the GM deeply personal hooks to exploit later in the narrative. The horror isn't just happening to them, it's happening through their relationships and personal lives.
Making it deeply personal.
Exactly. Rather than just an external threat. This built-in web of connections makes running away far more difficult, as they're constantly pulled back by their ties to one another.
Okay, this brings us to that million-dollar question for any compelling horror story. Why don't they just run away?
The eternal question.
Fear itself confronts this fundamental dilemma head-on with a brilliant mechanic called risk factors. It describes a formalized dance between players and the GM, where players might reasonably try to run, and the GM then uses a character's specific risk factor to justify the character being heroic, or, more accurately, being compelled to stay and face the horror.
This is truly a masterful mechanic for maintaining both tension and narrative engagement. Risk factors are deeply personal internal hooks that bind a character to the unfolding horror.
Like personal stakes.
Exactly. Maybe your character is looking for your lost brother, or trying to free yourself from recurring nightmares, or even obsessed with uncovering the truth behind a local legend.
Okay.
The crucial part is this. Ignoring these deeply ingrained factors directly hurts your stability.
The stability costs.
Right. It forces you to either confront the horror or risk a rapid psychological breakdown. It's not just an external threat, it's a constant internal struggle, an insidious pressure that keeps you from simply abandoning the scene.
So that's why they don't run.
The game uses this internal pressure to explain why ordinary people, despite their rational instincts, don't just flee from the horrors they face.
And the game cleverly distinguishes between hard and soft risk factors. A hard factor leaves you with absolutely no choice. The monster might be right there, blocking your exit.
Trapped.
A soft factor, however, allows you to resist it, but it costs you stability.
The price you pay.
The rulebook openly states, in short, part of the fun of fear itself is putting your characters through an emotional wringer at the same time as you solve the mystery. It's quite a promise, isn't it? To make suffering fun.
It's not just a promise, it's a core design philosophy that embraces the psychological torment central to horror. The game explicitly states, fear itself play is sometimes like a formalized dance. First, the player says, okay, I'm going to do what a normal person would do and run like hell.
Right, the sensible thing.
And in response, the GM brings up a suitable risk factor to justify the character being heroic. Then the roles reverse. The player must decide if the cost and stability is worth fleeing.
That's a tough choice.
This dynamic ensures constant engagement, making every choice a difficult one, and deepening the psychological impact. It's about the internal cost of survival, the toll on the soul, as much as it is about the external threat. This emotional ringer is what makes the experience resonate on a much deeper level than just a simple combat challenge.
Okay, to provide some counterbalance to all this horror and psychological pressure, characters have sources of stability.
Thank goodness.
For every 3 points invested in stability, you name something that keeps you sane when the terrors of the world threaten to shred your psyche.
An anchor.
These can be deeply personal things, a beloved activity, personality trait, or even specific people. What's interesting, though, is the explicit rule that you will not use other player characters.
Right.
They go through the same stress as you do and remind you of the horrors you confront.
This is a profoundly powerful psychological anchor the game instills. It highlights the fundamental human need for grounding amidst chaos by preventing other player characters from being direct sources of stability. The game subtly yet powerfully underscores the inherent isolation of each character's mental struggle, even when they're part of a group. Your sanity is ultimately your own burden to bear.
Makes sense.
This also means the GM gains a potent tool. They can put those very sources of stability at risk,
Oh, cool.
significantly increasing the emotional stakes for the players. For example, if your stability comes from your antique coin collection and the monster ransacks your home, that's not just property damage, it's a direct assault on your character's mental fortitude. Or, if it's a non-player character, that NPC becomes a potential target, not just a bystander, making the horror deeply personal.
Characters also select a personal goal that's of a mundane nature, something completely unrelated to the supernatural.
Right, normal stuff.
Like get into a good college or save your business from bankruptcy.
Yeah.
This helps keep the characters incredibly relatable, reminding you that they have a life and aspirations beyond monster hunting.
It prevents the game from becoming solely about the immediate supernatural threat. These mundane goals provide a crucial contrast to the cosmic horror, and they act as additional motivators, further preventing characters from simply abandoning the scene. The game wants you to have a vibrant, normal life outside the horror.
Why?
Because it makes the intrusions of the outer dark all the more potent and devastating. As the source says, the contrast will make the horror scarier.
Okay. Sets up the stakes.
It reminds you that the stakes aren't just your life, but the quiet, everyday existence you've built for yourself. When the horror infringes upon these mundane aspirations, it's not just scary, it's a violation of everything your character stands for.
The game also includes warnings for GMs about players gravitating towards certain character types, specifically combat investigation characters or psychic character.
Power gamers?
Maybe. It explicitly states that these types are especially fragile and gives a rather chilling note that psychics get priority seating in the rubber room.
Oh, wow.
Because their unearthly perceptions allow them to see more than ordinary people. In a place stalked by unremitting horror, that's a bad thing indeed.
This is a crucial genre convention that fear itself formalizes into its mechanics. It's a deliberate choice to prevent players from creating characters that would trivialize the horror or make them feel too powerful.
Right, keeps it scary.
Authority figures, for instance, are often slaughtered with near-comic efficiency. Occult experts are typically untrustworthy, physically weak, or already compromised in some way.
They're blanks.
This relentlessly reinforces the game's core idea. You are just an ordinary person, fundamentally ill-equipped for this. The game states GMs are free to disallow psychic and occult expert characters altogether,
Really?
to explicitly emphasize the contrast between mundane characters and the overwhelming supernatural evil they face. It's about being outmatched, not about having an edge. The uncanny horror stems from the idea that your very perception can betray you.
Even though characters are ordinary and often outmatched, the game strongly encourages players to be proactive and resourceful. It says, pick a plan, be bold, and seize the initiative. Pick the type of terrifying risk you're most able to confront. It also stresses the importance of embracing the mundane, meaning your character still has a life, a job, family, hobbies they care about.
This is fundamentally about player agency within the inherently constrained genre of horror. It acknowledges that a truly realistic response to overwhelming horror might be paralysis.
Yeah, freezing up.
Which, frankly, isn't very fun gameplay. Instead, it pushes players to make interesting choices that drive the narrative forward, and then find a way to make those choices realistic within the narrative.
Okay.
It's a subtle but powerful shift in perspective, transforming potential inaction into active engagement with the horror. As the source states, an interesting choice is one that keeps your character moving and doing things.
So don't just stand there.
Right. It means you're not just reacting to the monster, you're making difficult, character-defining decisions in the face of impossible odds.
Okay, moving on to the Game Master's perspective now. The Fear Itself rulebook provides invaluable advice on how to design an adventure,
The GM's toolkit.
emphasizing that it should always begin with a compelling investigation trigger, like a gruesome crime. They even provide this delightfully sketchy example, a flash flooding incident. Investigators finding a corpse, clues leading to a ghost, then to local history, and finally into the outer dark to a sinking house. And here's the kicker. They explicitly say, if the choice is between horror and coherence, go for horror.
That reveals a core design philosophy that is absolutely vital for understanding fear itself. The experience of visceral terror often trumps strict, logical consistency in the narrative.
Horror over logic.
The GM is encouraged to focus on chaining together horrific, evocative set pieces, using clues as flexible bridges to maintain narrative momentum toward the ultimate, terrifying confrontation.
Like beads on a string of dread.
Exactly. The flash flood example clearly illustrates this. Mundane disaster, decaying corpse, ghost, history, unearthly realm, sinking house. The clues serve as connective tissue, not rigid logical proof,
Right.
allowing for a more fluid and impactful escalation of dread. It's about creating a series of horrifying vignettes that build to a crescendo, even if the logical leaps are a little abstract.
To aid the GM in guiding this investigation, the game categorizes clues into 4 distinct types. Core clues point to the next scene. Indispensable.
Gotta have those.
0-point clues are interesting but not essential, often for foreshadowing or flavor. And then there are floating core clues, which sound brilliant. They could appear in any of several scenes, giving the GM immense control over pacing.
The flexibility afforded by floating core clues is particularly clever and empowering for the GM. It allows them to adapt seamlessly to player choices and actions,
Adapting on the fly.
providing key information precisely when the players are ready for it, rather than forcing them down a rigid, predetermined path. It's about empowering player agency while simultaneously ensuring the story always progresses without getting bogged down. The source notes that a floating clue allows the GM to act like a ruthless editor, skipping unnecessary scenes when you need to kick the narrative into a higher gear.
Speeding things up.
Or, conversely, to linger if players are having a particularly engaging time with a scene. This flexibility ensures that the pacing of the horror remains tight and impactful, constantly building tension and preventing lulls.
The manual places a strong emphasis on personalizing the horror. It stresses that a scenario should draw the PCs into encounters with personal horror.
Making it personal.
Scenes should be tailored to the individual characters' risk factors, fears, and inner demons. This isn't just about generic monsters. It's about making the horror truly resonate with your character, twisting their deepest anxieties against them.
This design principle taps into a deep, primal well of fear. By directly linking the supernatural threat to a character's specific personal vulnerabilities and psychological wounds, the horror becomes inescapable, insidious, and profoundly unsettling.
Hits closer to home.
Exactly. It's not just about what you see, it's about what it means to you, what it threatens to take from you on an emotional level. It often forces players to put your characters through an emotional ringer by targeting their most cherished values or deepest fears.
Like that fear of drowning example.
Perfect example. If a character has a risk factor related to a fear of drowning, the monster might manifest as a water demon, or the scene might involve a flooded claustrophobic space. This hits the player on a profound personal level, making the horror far more impactful and memorable than just a generic threat.
It's a standard, almost cliché trope of horror that the traditional guardians of order, police, parents, teachers, news agencies, are resolutely blind to what the protagonists are going through.
Always useless, aren't they?
Fear itself embraces this wholeheartedly. Why? Because, as the book states, successful horror depends upon a sense of isolation.
This is a crucial element for maintaining the character's vulnerability, forcing them to rely solely on themselves, which in turn enhances that terrifying feeling of being trapped and utterly alone.
No backup coming.
The game provides GMs with a suite of classic demotivators for avoiding authorities. The police would never believe us, the classic horror movie line.
I've heard that one before.
Or the police would assume we were responsible, turning the victims into suspects. In some truly chilling scenarios, it might even be the police are in on it.
That's nasty.
Creating a terrifying sense of betrayal and omnipresent threat. This makes the characters truly isolated, preventing any easy escape from the horror and compelling them to face the threats themselves or perish.
And if characters do try to run, which is, the natural human instinct,
Sensible even.
fear itself has a mechanic for that too. The escape pool. It's a shared pool of points used to find a way out when characters are physically isolated. But here's the brutal kicker, reinforcing the bleak nature of this game. It's easier to escape if you're on your own.
Oof.
That's a stark, almost cruel incentive for self-preservation over group cohesion.
This mechanic is the ultimate test of a player's commitment to their character versus their loyalty to the group. It brilliantly formalizes that classic horror movie trope where characters try to flee but fate or the monster conspires against them, often forcing them to make impossible choices. It creates a palpable sense of desperation and high stakes, even for the act of trying to leave the scene.
How much easier is it alone?
The numbers speak volumes. If two characters attempt to escape together, the difficulty is 10. But if only one character tries to make a break for it alone, the difficulty drops to 8.
Okay, that's significant.
That small difference can literally be the line between life and death. It highlights the raw, selfish nature of pure survival when all else is lost, forcing characters to potentially betray their companions simply to cling to their own fragile lives.
Wow.
It's a mechanic designed to push players into uncomfortable, morally ambiguous decisions, intensifying the psychological horror.
All right, now for the truly terrifying and perhaps the most uncanny part of fear itself, its creatures.
The monsters.
The book states that all of them should be in some way psychologically exciting, not just for the characters, but for the players as well. He also introduces aberrance as a special ability that measures a creature's capacity to abuse and torment the strictures of reality. This isn't just about physical power, is it?
No, not at all. This moves far beyond simple monster stats. It suggests that true horror, the kind that lingers and truly disturbs, comes from disruption, distortion, and psychological impact.
Reality warp.
Aberrance isn't just about raw physical power or damage. It's about the monster's ability to erode sanity, twist perceptions, and fundamentally warp the world around it. This directly impacts the game's core themes of the Uncanny Valley by making reality itself feel wrong.
How does that work in play?
Imagine a monster with high aberrance isn't just physically strong. It might distort your senses, make walls bleed, or cause your own memories to warp.
Creepy.
It might make your shadow whisper threats or make the air itself feel suffocatingly heavy. For the players, this isn't just a stat on a sheet. It's a constant, palpable erosion of their perception of reality, plunging them deeper into the game's unsettling atmosphere. As the source notes, a creature that appears limited, if that limit is elastic, feels more like a genuine challenge than one that functions purely according to the whim of the GM. It's about a twisted, unsettling reality where the rules of the universe can be arbitrarily broken by the monster.
The monsters in Fear itself have familiar combat stats like hit threshold, armor, damage modifier.
The usual stuff.
But they also possess more subtle attributes, like awareness modifier and stealth modifier, indicating how easily they can perceive or hide from characters. And like classic horror creatures, they have special means of dispatch, specific vulnerabilities.
Like silver for werewolves.
Exactly, which offer a slim hope for defeating them.
These detailed attributes allow for incredibly diverse and nuanced tactical encounters, ensuring that each monster presents a unique challenge beyond just a slugfest. The game further categorizes the types of horror a monster might evoke.
Right, the categories.
Giving GMs a clear palette of dread to work with.
Hmm.
First, there's creepy.
Creepy.
This category signifies something familiar but twisted. Think of entities like the bystanders, who appear ordinary, maybe even helpful, until you notice their psychic intrusion, feeding on guilt and subtly preventing anyone from intervening in a horror. They are designed to instill a profound sense of unease by corrupting the mundane.
Okay, subtle horror.
Then there's gory. As the name suggests, this is about the visceral.
Mm-hmm.
Blood-smeared, gushing caustic fluids, skin flaying. Ugh! A perfect example is the Skinner, a creature that wears its victim's skins as disguises.
No.
With the horrifying detail that it's stuffing the meat and bones of its most recent victim inside the skin sack of the previous one. This is horror that assaults the senses and revels in physical violation.
Definitely gory. What's next?
Freaky. This category aims to take the player's unconscious assumptions about how reality works and rip them apart. The Mystery Man, who warps reality based on observation, is a prime example here.
Reality breaking.
These creatures destabilize your very understanding of the world, making the environment itself a source of terror.
And the last one.
Harrowing. These are the relentless, pervasive threats. They're always there, always hammering at the player characters. The Wastelander, for instance, wants to escape our reality by turning victims into beasts.
Relentless pursuit.
Constantly pursuing and eroding the character's will to resist. This is a sustained, grinding horror that offers no respite.
These categories really help us as players and listeners understand how the game intends to scare you. Beyond just the monster's physical appearance, it's about the profound psychological impact. Hitting those deep primal fears.
Precisely. It's a sophisticated classification system for dread itself, allowing for a nuanced approach to building terror. Now, let's peer a little closer into some specific creatures from the Outer Dark, starting with one that truly embodies that freaky, uncanny quality, the Mystery Man.
The Mystery Man. This entity introduces itself with the chilling declaration, "You can call me Hungerwood. You're my toys now. I like to break my toys."
Chilling.
This creature delights in psychological torture and can perfectly imitate people, your loved ones, your friends. But the horrifying illusion shatters the moment you suspect it, revealing horrible, distorted qualities. It possesses the deeply unnerving ability to appear or vanish at will as long as they're unobserved.
The Mystery Man is a masterclass in freaky horror. Designed to assault your perception and sanity, its ability to mimic loved ones and then grotesquely distort your mother's flesh suddenly becoming sallow and purulent, your pig-tailed niece revealing a set of sharp fangs. It's a direct, brutal assault on the familiar.
Deep into the uncanny valley.
Deep, plunging you right in. The fact that it only appears or vanishes when unobserved perfectly embodies that subtle, creeping dread, making you question your own sanity and what you truly believe you've seen.
Yeah.
It's described as the antithesis of reason and mercy, preying on your emotional connections and twisting them into instruments of torture. You're never truly safe, even within your own mind or among those you trust most.
Okay, next up we have the Ovashi. Described as humanoid demons who prey on society's refuse, these creatures initially appear as painfully nondescript vagrants.
Blending in.
Their method of operation is truly insidious. They offer desired gifts to gain trust, then cunningly manipulate groups into heinous and degrading acts of betrayal, eventually killing the last survivor. What's chillingly uncanny is their ability to psychically influence those around it to ignore this glaring sign of its inhuman origin, like their shark-like teeth.
That's truly chillingly insidious. The Ovashi feed on society's most vulnerable, not through brute force, but by exploiting their deepest desires and then turning them against each other.
Social horror.
The detail about ignoring their shark-like teeth due to psychic influence is a masterful stroke of uncanny horror. It's a violation of trust, perception, even self-preservation. It manipulates its victims to commit horrifying acts against each other, leading them down a path of increasing degradation until they've created a hell of their own making.
Okay.
At which point, the Ovashi consumes their soul. This creature is a terrifying fusion of creepy and harrowing. It infiltrates the fabric of human desperation and systematically unravels it from within.
Yeah.
It embodies the horror of being complicit in your own destruction and the chilling realization that your perceptions can be entirely unreliable.
Then there's the utterly unsettling torture dog. Imagine giant mammalian cyborg weevils, equipped with whirring power drills that inject psychotropic toxins, specifically designed to heighten pain. Their victims are forced to become an accessory to his own mutilation.
That's vile.
And, adding to their terrifying nature, they can glide along strange planes unknown to conventional science, giving the impression they've jumped through some sort of wormhole to appear.
The torture dog is a creature that brilliantly combines visceral body horror with profound psychological torment. The idea of being telepathically linked to your torturer, being forced to participate in and witness your own mutilation through their eyes, is a profound violation of bodily autonomy and identity. It strikes at the very core of what makes the uncanny unsettling a twisted, grotesque version of intimacy.
Twisted intimacy, wow.
The psychotropic toxins heighten the sensory experience of pain, making the agony an inescapable, overwhelming reality for the victim. Furthermore, their ability to manifest without a visible point of entry, simply appearing as if from nowhere.
Yeah, the wormhole thing.
Due to their movement along strange planes unknown to conventional science, is deeply disorienting and adds a powerful, freaky element to their terror. They are quite literally steeped in the mind-racking essence of human agony, making them a truly disturbing encounter that leaves deep psychological scars.
And finally, a creature that is as viscerally disgusting as it is terrifying. The fat golem.
Oh, I remember this one. Ugh.
It begins its horrifying life as a slug-like creature of gelatinous yellow-white substance similar to human fat, stealthily entering a sleeping victim and masquerading as ordinary weight gain.
Weight gain.
It then reproduces by fission, silently infesting associated people. The ultimate horror comes when these individual slugs merge into a grotesque humanoid form that perfectly mimics a victim's voice, fingerprints, and DNA.
This creature plays on some of our most primal fears. Fears of bodily autonomy, invasion, the terrifying blurring of the line between self and other.
Body horror.
It's a literal embodiment of something that is us, but not us. Deeply unnerving and profoundly uncanny. Imagine the slow, insidious dread as you or a loved one inexplicably gains weight.
Yeah.
Initially dismissed as stress or poor diet, only to realize it's a parasitic slug growing within. Then the horror multiplies as it reproduces by fission, silently infesting your friends, your family, turning them into unwitting hosts.
These spreads.
The truly horrifying part is how these slugs then merge, absorbing their victims, forming a new humanoid shape that perfectly mimics the person they infested. Their voice, their fingerprints, their DNA creating an almost perfect, grotesque double.
Perfect mimic.
This creature doesn't just kill, it replaces. It violates the sanctity of the body and the very idea of identity, turning those closest to you into a horrifying, uncanny reflection of themselves. It is viscerally gory and profoundly creepy, a true nightmare of the familiar made horrifically alien.
Okay, wow. Those are something else.
Yeah.
The game's flexibility, though, it extends beyond these single terrifying encounters. Fear itself supports one-shots for concentrated bursts of horror, mini-series that run for 3 to 8 episodes, and full-blown campaigns.
Longer-term dread.
These campaigns can be either episodic, offering a monster of the week structure, or ongoing, delving into deeper overarching mythologies. They even suggest unique twists like an all-psychic series, where all characters have psychic powers, albeit with increased risks, as we discussed.
Right, priority seating. This diverse range of campaign structures really showcases the game's flexibility in delivering different flavors and intensities of horror. For long-term campaigns, the book highlights the importance of what it calls plot dispensers.
Plot dispensers, like a Pez dispenser of doom.
Kind of. Recurring elements that provide consistent hooks and antagonists, ensuring the horror continues to evolve over time rather than being just a series of isolated incidents.
Okay, like what?
Examples include Jack Scratch, a mysterious radio show hinting at hidden mysteries, or insidious factions like Ascent Properties, a seemingly benign real estate company secretly exploiting supernatural events for profit.
Ah, the conspiracy angle.
These elements provide a constant simmering undercurrent of dread, ensuring the horror is a persistent presence in the characters' lives, always threatening to resurface and unravel their sense of normalcy.
For these extended campaigns, the initial risk factors, that compel characters into horror evolve into deeper, more profound personal drives.
They deepen over time.
These include being haunted, unable to rest knowing monsters are out there, experiencing horrific fascination, irresistibly drawn to the Outer Dark's mysteries,
The moth to the flame.
being protective, putting others' safety first, even at great personal cost, skeptical, compelled to debunk even when faced with overwhelming proof.
Even now, still skeptical.
Apparently, feeling unlucky, a constant magnet for weirdness, or being vengeful, seeking retribution against the horrors or those who unleash them.
These campaign-level risk factors are incredibly clever. They ensure long-term engagement by rooting the horror deeply within the character's core motivations and flaws. They move beyond immediate triggers to become profound, defining aspects of the character's identities,
So they are now.
compelling them to repeatedly plunge into the dark, knowing you have no better choice. It's about why they can't just walk away, even when the immediate threat is gone. Their internal struggles, their personal demons, keep them inextricably tied to the outer dark. This deepens the role-playing experience, as players constantly grapple with their characters' internal conflicts, even as they face external horrors. And crucially, characters do advance in campaigns.
They get better.
They gain 2 build points for each session they participated in, allowing them to improve existing abilities or gain new ones, reflecting their growing, albeit costly, experience in the face of the uncanny.
Finally, the game places significant emphasis on populating campaigns with a compelling yet deliberately ordinary supporting cast.
The NPCs.
It explicitly advises GMs, avoid the temptation to connect them to your factions or other mysteries. Why is this baseline of normality so crucial for fear itself's horror?
This point is absolutely critical for sustained horror, as player characters inevitably become more hardened, more familiar with the horrors.
Jaded almost.
The mundane supporting cast serves as a vital reminder for both players and characters of what's truly at stake. The normal, quiet lives that the unremitting horror constantly threatens.
The contrast.
Exactly. These ordinary people are the ones who complain about the player character's slipping grades because their focus is elsewhere, or worry about overloaded credit cards spent on ammunition because they don't understand the true costs.
They have no idea.
They represent the normalcy that makes the uncanny so terrifying by contrast. They're the constant reminder of what the characters are fighting for, or, more poignantly, what they've already irrevocably lost. Without this baseline, the horror loses its punch. It becomes normalized. The vulnerability of these ordinary NPCs underscores the profound stakes and the insidious nature of the Outer Dark's influence, preventing the game from ever feeling like a straightforward monster hunt.
So what does this all mean for you, our listener? Fear itself isn't just a rulebook. It's a meticulously crafted framework for exploring fear, sanity, and the unsettling idea of something profoundly wrong hiding just beneath the surface of everyday life. It forces characters to confront the unexplainable, to stare into the abyss rather than simply running from it, ultimately revealing the true, insidious nature of dread.
This game brilliantly illustrates how the most profound horror often stems not from obvious, grotesque monsters, but from the insidious corruption of the familiar.
That twisting of the normal.
It's about the erosion of personal integrity and the terrifying realization that the world you thought you knew, the reality you trusted, is fundamentally untrue. A fragile membrane stretched over an unspeakable void. The often discussed uncanny valley of human-like robots, it kind of pales in comparison to the psychological uncanny valley of your own reality turning against you, distorting the very essence of what you hold dear.
It truly makes you think. What would you do if your comfortable world started to unravel? If the authorities wouldn't believe you, and the very act of running away wasn't a viable option? Maybe even costing you your sanity. How would your deeply personal risk factors pull you deeper into the abyss, and what sources of stability would you desperately cling to as your psyche frayed? It's a chilling thought, isn't it?
It is.
Inviting you to question the quiet normalcy and assumed safety of your own life.
We hope this exploration of fear itself has given you new insights into the intricate mechanics of horror and the complex human response to the truly inexplicable. Perhaps it's even made you look a little more closely at the shadows in your own periphery.
Or maybe that weird pigeon.
Or that oddly shaped pigeon on your neighbor's roof. Exactly.
Thank you for joining us on this unsettling journey into the outer dark. Until next time, stay curious and remember, sometimes what you don't know can hurt you in ways you never imagined. This has been the Uncanny Valley Podcast.